Welcome to Swansea University and the Swansea University Cambridge English CELTA. The purpose of this video is to introduce to you the first assignment on the course, the so-called Focus on the Learner. And in this video, we're going to explain to you how, as a trainee on the Swansea University Cambridge English CELTA, you can have the best opportunity of success in the assignment. Assignment 1, Focus on the Learner, requires you to complete a learner profile for one learner, usually taken from your first teaching practice group. You can use a student or a friend from outside the university, but please make sure that whomever you choose speaks a language which you are not familiar with. The reason for this is to give you an opportunity first to find out about a new language group and some of the problems that students from that language group experience, but also to prepare you as an English language teacher for the kind of research that you will do in the jobs when you go abroad, because understanding your students' language problems and culture problems is an important way of becoming an efficient teacher. The first assignment, Focus on the Learner, has as its main focus an investigation of the learning context and assessment of learner needs with reference to a specific learner. In brief, that means you find out about the background of the learner, you find out what they're good at, you find out what they're less good at, and then you bring into place remedial activities which help them to address their weaknesses. The profile itself will include the identification of sources for language and skills development. You go off and find activities which help the students to address the problems that you identify in the data that you collect. And secondly, it will give you the opportunity to make suggestions for specific activities and a rationale for their use with the learner. So on the one hand, you learn about English language course books and activities that are available on the internet, and secondly, you learn how to apply them to the needs of a particular learner. The assignment requirements, as explained on this side, are important, and the slide itself makes clear the requirements for all 4 CELTA assignments on the course. Please make sure that you have read these carefully and you understand what is required of you. Don't worry too much about the information on the right-hand side of the screen, which talks about pass on resubmission, and fail on resubmission. It is quite common for trainees to be asked to resubmit at least one of their assignments on the course, so don't worry too much if this happens. In the case that you are asked to resubmit, we will provide you with clear, detailed feedback on how to improve, and this is always provided on our courses. So, how exactly do we help you with the Focus on the Learner assignment? Well, watch this video, read the assignment pack to find out. And if I can recommend at this point that if you don't have a copy in your hand already, it would be a really good idea to have a copy of the Focus on the Learner profile pack with you while you watch the rest of the video. This next slide tells you about the aims, the assessment criteria, and the word limits for the Focus on the Learner assignment. Please note, importantly, the word limit of 750 to 1,000 words. We are not looking for a PhD level submission. This, as a level 5 CELTA qualification, is an initiation into the world of English language teaching, and as a result, the length of the assignments, we hope, are very manageable. If we move on now to the task rubric, this page in the profile guidelines tells you exactly what you need to do in order to fulfill the requirements of the assignment. Firstly, you need to choose a student, ideally taken from your first teaching practice group, and we strongly recommend that you do this very early on in the course. Also, it's important to make sure that the student that you choose is not also working with another trainee on the course, because you must have one learner profile that is unique to each trainee. We recommend that you arrange to meet them at least a couple of times in order both to get to know them and also to collect the data that you will require in order to complete the rest of the learner profile. The first part of the Focus on the Learner, Section A, is the learner background, and this is about 300 words. And as you can see from the pack and here on screen, this is where you collect background information about the learner, their study background, something about their personality, and their reasons for learning English. Section B requires you to analyse specific language problems, and these are divided into 5 parts: pronunciation, speaking, understanding spoken English, vocabulary, and grammar. Whilst it is possible for you to make comments about the strengths that the learners have in these areas, or more particularly your specific learner, you should focus primarily on any difficulties that the learners have in this area. Because the groups that we have at Swansea University range from pre-intermediate to upper intermediate, there is always an opportunity for learners to improve, and you won't find it difficult to come up with ideas of where the learner's difficulties are and how these can be addressed. Section C is where you then identify and then explain your selection of specific activities which address 3 of the 5 areas that were discussed in Section B. Please note here that in your selection of activities, firstly, it is very important that you match the activity to the specific problems identified in Section B, and secondly, that you only stick to the 5 areas that you are asked to identify: pronunciation, speaking, understanding spoken English, vocabulary, and grammar. Now, you'll probably want to collect some written data from the learner. Depending on their level, this may be a short essay, an email, or a letter to you. But it is not appropriate for this learner profile to talk about problems that the students have in writing. Rather, use the written data to look at those 5 areas from Section B. Another way in which we help you is the assignment submission checklist, and it is really important that you read this carefully and make sure that you can tick off in the column marked Y that you have completed each part. This is linked to the marking guidelines and the marking grid for the assignment. If any of these areas are left undone, then it's very likely, or indeed almost guaranteed, that you will be asked to resubmit the assignment. Moving on, further support is provided by the assignment guidelines, and it is really important that you read these carefully, and we recommend that you highlight the key points as you do so. We also provide you with a recommended reading list, a bibliography, plus details of how to reference any sources that you have used in the learner profile. For this, we have both chosen methodology titles, and we have indicated ones which are available to borrow from the CELTA collection in the Swansea University main library, and we have also given you an idea of how to reference both the academic and the teaching sources that you use in the assignment. Make sure that you use at least one methodology source in this assignment. This last page, Assignment Tips, is in many ways the most important one for you to be familiar with, as it lists the most frequent mistakes made by trainees which lead to a submission, or rather a resubmission of the assignment, or occasionally a fail on resubmission. Read them carefully, highlight them, but notice that they fall into 3 main categories. Failure to give detailed info about the learner, their background, lack of specificity about the problems that the learner has in the 5 areas in Section B, and then finally, lack of specific remedial activities for 3 of the 5 areas from Section B. And this final section perhaps causes problems on two levels. Sometimes the remedial activities are too general. Sometimes the explanation of why they have been chosen is limited. And sometimes they simply don't match the problems identified in section B. Finally, and again in hope of enabling you to be as successful as possible on the assignment first time round, we provide you with an assignment answer booklet. And this structures your answer in such a way that we hope you won't leave anything out, that everything that you include is relevant, and everything is necessary for the submission and the successful achievement of the assignment aims. So that's our introduction to the Swansea University take on assignment 1 of the CELTA, Focus on the Learner. We have other videos available which give both background information on the 4 assignments and then specific information on what is required of you to achieve the CELTA with us here at Swansea University. If this video has encouraged you to want to take the CELTA with us, or you're interested in more information, then please don't hesitate to contact us. Our details are available on this screen. You can either email us elts@swansea.ac.uk or contact the Teacher Training Coordinator Peter Neville either by email or using the departmental phone number on the slide. Thank you for watching.